there, it's Dr. Charis Chambers, also known as the Period Doctor, and I am here with Fund 2 at the National Medical Association's annual convention to discuss taking off the white coat. I'm being joined by two amazing guests, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Ijeoma Uche. I am the co-founder of Birth by Us. I am also a second-year medical student at UC Davis, as well as a proud member of Region 1 of the Student National Medical Association.
And I'm Dr. LaTasha Seliby-Perkins. I'm an assistant professor at Georgetown University School of Medicine, Department of Family Medicine. And I am a proud member of NMA. I'm Region 2 Secretary and happy to be here today too.
Fantastic. So happy to have you both. I'm going to also be answering the questions myself. Again, I'm an OBGYN, pediatric and adolescent gynecologist. So how do you navigate the intersectionality of being Black in medicine?
So it depends on the day, right? It's been multiple iterations from medical school, residency, now professor. And in our current moment, with reproductive health being an issue and, being a woman and a Black woman in medicine, I navigate that intersectionality by focusing on myself and how I feel in the moment, but also recognizing that and feeling that also affects my professionalism, my professional identity. And so I continually navigate that, staying as authentic to myself as possible, but also being connected to what's happening currently and how I should show up in these space.
I love that. I love the thoughts of how you're showing up in the space, especially with how things are occurring currently, because everything that happens around us affects the way we show up, and that's very real. What about you, changing?
Yes. I mean, I second that, and I think I would add how much I lean on my community. I think that I go back to spaces where I feel safe and I feel seen and I feel heard, and I express my experiences knowing that I will get great advice. I would get the time to be, seen, be heard. And I also leave that space feeling more full and ready to combat whatever's next.
When I was looking at this question, it kind of made me think, before I went to medical school, before I got the MD, before I was board certified, I was Black. There's no situation in which me being Black, I enter every space as a Black woman. And I used to think that entering those spaces authentically was what was most important for other people. Like I had to show up in these spaces as a Black woman authentically to make the med student know they could show up, which is a part of it, or to, make sure that I'm showing up for my people or, making my community proud. I later learned that I had to show up authentically for me first by being able to fully accept and acknowledge that intersectionality. I got to be my fullest self, and I didn't have to damper that down. I could be feminine. I could wear my twist out. I could do all those things and still be the credentialed expert that I am. How do you nurture yourself as a clinician, as a medical student, and why is it important?
Oh, it's so important, especially as a medical student, and getting a vast amount of information all at once, while also being a founder and navigating essentially two different worlds. And I think that what I do is I really lean on the things that make me feel refreshed. I have been an athlete my entire life, so I make sure to work out almost 6 times a week. I know it may sound outrageous to other people, but that has been my reality for essentially my life, right? And I find new spaces where I can essentially cut out all the noises, all the worries, all the emails that I receive every day, and just focus on my well-being and really appreciate and reflect where I am now. And then I start my day. I start the chaos.
Yeah.
And so starting my day out with that reset allows me to really be able to essentially, again, go throughout the day with a full battery.
I want to commend you, because when I was in medical school, I did not have that same wisdom or wherewithal at all. I mean, I wanted to do some of those things. They told us to do some of those things. I said, where am I finding the time? So I think it's commendable that you were able to nurture yourself in that way. Dr. Perkins?
I got to second how great that is.
Right, like we're older than you.
But this also is wisdom, but wellness is important now. We didn't hear much about that when I was in medical school, but also physiologically, those endorphins get released, when you work out. So that's such a good practice. So we're at the National Medical Association annual meeting, and I say that because that's part of the reason, the part of the way I nurture myself. I'm an extrovert, so I come to meetings like this where I can meet with my colleagues, meet with other Black doctors who we can talk about the same thing, and there's a knowing nod across the line, glances, good real hugs. We're all professionals, we're all physicians. My specialty, I go to my specialty meeting too, the American Medical Association and the American Family Academies meetings, just because we are around your other professionals, your clinicians, you share that together. And then once you get down to people that look like you and people who walk this earth as a woman, you get an opportunity to just kind of collaborate and share. And that rejuvenates me in a way that only someone who knows all of the moments of being a clinician can do. Second is also reminding myself that my other roles are just as important as being a clinician. My role as a mother, my role as a daughter, my role as a sister are equally as important, and I nurture those by communing with my family. And so it's important to commune with your professional family as well.
I feel like there was a little bit of some shared themes there. The safe space, the places that refreshes, that is the nurturing. And this is actually my first time coming to the National Medical Association's annual meeting. And I was blown away by how refreshed I felt at the end of the day. So I am an introvert, which means that little social battery, it starts almost half full anyway. So, typically when I come to medical meetings, at the end of the day, I am drained. I have a headache. I'm tired. I cannot show up. I can't do other things. But here I feel like I'm being poured into. And that's so special. And it's because of that intersectionality. I'm not explaining that I'm a Black woman today. I'm not explaining that I'm an issue. We don't have to, because of that like-mindedness. And so I didn't realize it. And it wasn't even an intentional form of nurturing myself, but I completely agree with that. And I plan to return for that reason, to count it as an annual form of nurturing, because it's been so powerful.
So I take this part very seriously. I came to medical school for my family, for my community in general, my family community, but also my community. I'm originally from Biloxi, Mississippi, so deep Southern girl. But I was military brat, so I moved around a lot. I've been around a lot of diversity. So that's important to me. Community engagement and caring for them is important. So when, just like we talked about safe spaces as clinicians, as a woman, as a Black person, I like to create that safe space for my patients and my community. Yeah. And so part of that is seeing my patients and giving them the authentic person. I take care of a 90% Medicaid, Medicare population, and I do that. I treat them just like I would treat anybody else, right? It's as if they are multimillionaires, So serving in a community I was meant to serve. But also, I'm an assistant professor. I mentioned that, and I run the community-based learning course because I want our new physicians of the future to understand that community engagement is important. Your patient is a person before they walk in. You need to know what it feels like to hear what it means to make $15 an hour, to miss your doctor's appointment, to miss your not pick up your medicine at the pharmacy. And so it's important for our trainees to understand that this patient is a person with a family, and they live in a neighborhood that may not have fresh fruit and vegetables. So when you go in to give that dietary and nutritional advice, you understand the community in which they live. And so I'm dedicating my life to making sure that our new trainees understand that, that continue to engage in my community outside as a physician, but also, as a servant in my church.
Yes.
Boys, girls club, mentoring. And so it's multifaceted. It's kind of what I do, right? Made for this, but it's a large part of my professional identity. And so that's why it's important to me.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
You touched on a great topic, and especially with talking about how you really lead medical students in how to serve communities, because that's so important. On Saturdays, I actually volunteer a student-run clinic where we serve the homeless population. And it's one key thing that I see that is really essential is just giving them time to just say what's wrong, listening, and not passive listening, but actively listening, reinforcing what they're saying back to see if we're really understanding what their problems are, and being able to give them resources that worked, not just resources that are on a piece of paper,
Not just to say I gave it.
exactly. And checking in 2 weeks after, saying, did you go to this resource that I offered? Was it helpful? And to be able to cross off that resource if it wasn't helpful. And I think that what I've learned about this experience, especially in the experience of building Birth by Us, is the best thing I can give to my patients right now, beyond becoming a physician, is giving them the space and the time to just listen, and listen with really intentional ears.
Yes. So I think I love the view of someone who is more, established in your career, where you know exactly where your serving is needed and what your ministry is. And for you, being creative, understanding hey, I have this longer term goal and I'm on my way there, but while I'm on the journey, I can still be helpful. A big part for me, being a pediatric and adolescent gynecologist, is ensuring that my patients at much younger ages, where they're forgotten and dismissed and often devalued, that I combat every negative thing that they are told. And so part of it is understanding what society is saying about the patient in front of me. I know they said you can't do this, but I'm telling you today that you can. I'm going to tell you again that you can, because you have to combat with so much positivity to really get someone to unlearn the negativity that society says about them. And that's especially important for Black girls. And so, yes, I, on social media as a Black woman and a Black doctor, and I think that's important for representation purposes, but speaking specifically to the wounds and to the ways in which society tries to break us down, to be that voice on the other side, that to me is a form of nurturing. It's a type of healing that's hopefully preventative, but also combating the damage that I think society does. And so that's a little darker, a little different. But certainly that's something that I felt could be different, that I like to do specific to my specialty.
But it's not dark, because when you think about what we're currently dealing with society, we kind of touched on this a little bit of the first question. We've gone through a pandemic that hasn't happened for other people, for other, generations. And there are emerging adults and adolescents that social life got cut off for 2 years. That is huge.
It's massive.
For an adolescent. That's huge for an emerging adult. That's huge for who you are developing as a human being. And so it's not dark, it's real. It's truth. We got to be honest about where we are. And so, crown and dusty, you're doing what you need to do.
Now, what would be your number one tip that you give to your loved ones? So we're talking family members, sisters, friends, on their maternal health journey.
That's a weighted one for me, because I've had my own maternal health journey. I've had a difficult maternal health journey, and then I'm also a clinician. And so, and being a family physician, I do take care of women who have uncomplicated, maternal, journey. So when it comes to my family, I tell them the same thing that I would tell my patients, because my patients are my family too. I really do feel that. Listen to your body. It doesn't feel right. If you're pregnant and you're hungry, to stay in the kitchen, close your eyes. What do I want to eat? If it's pickles, eat it, right? If it's, 2 cupcakes, have it, but just be, mindful. And if you go to the doctor and, you don't feel heard, then you need to pause and reevaluate the relationship and continue to listen to your body and make sure that you're heard.
Yes.
So it's actually, cheating, I'm giving 2. So I'm saying listen to your body, but also make sure you're being heard about what you feel in your body, and that you're able to advocate and have that conversation. Because the maternal journey is a very important one.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. And I think sometimes when you enter into these healthcare spaces, you just expect, and we were taught even, that you just listen. This is the authority, right? You listen to them. But when you're listening to your body, and part of something that I tell my patients, you are the expert in your body.
Absolutely.
You told way more about your body than I ever could. I know about the general body, and I'm an expert in medicine, but I beg of you to understand that it is a meeting of 2 experts, and that's the best outcome. And so if you can't show up in the fullness of the expert of your own body, then we don't have that best outcome. And so part of that is empowering our patients and family to speak up. But as a clinician, part of that is me saying, I hear you, right? As you mentioned, I'm listening to you, and shutting up and giving them the microphone, giving them the stage. It's one thing to say it's okay for you to speak, but actually creating an environment where they feel safe to speak and where they feel heard. That's a huge difference.
And silence isn't a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. You can weigh into me.
I think I'm speaking as someone who has done a lot of research in the maternal health space and finding my own way through what the maternal health care system looks like in the U.S. And it's fragmented. It's complicated to navigate. And I am 5.5 years into this research, and I still feel like it's complicated and it's unfragmented. And so I think one key thing I would tell my loved ones or my sisters would be to not show up alone. Come with someone. Always come to your appointments, to your birth, to every aspect, that every touch point in the healthcare system with someone you trust, with someone who can advocate for you, who trusts you and know that you know your body more than anyone that's going to walk into that room.
Right.
Because, I mean, as clinicians, we know that we're supposed to follow a clinical script and write it to our patients. But one thing that I'm realizing in medical school is they really don't tell you how to navigate the healthcare system or teach you how to teach your patients how to navigate the healthcare system. And I'm assuming that's something you learn in residency or further along. And I'm looking forward to that. But as right now, I would say that I would tell my sisters or anyone, my loved ones, my friends, to have an advocate with you, have someone you trust, and go through it together. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And I don't know that I said one really, but I would kind of echo your point. A lot of my advice is related to taking up space when you go to these encounters, when you show up to those touch points, showing up fully and understanding that you are deserving of good care. I think especially as Black women and as Black people, and as anyone who is mistreated by the healthcare system, we do the respectability politics, right? We inherently say, well, let me dress up. Let me act like I got some sense. Let me put on my good clothes. Let me do. It doesn't matter what you have on, right? Understanding that sometimes we do those things as a defense mechanism, as preventative measure, so that we don't give them a reason to mistreat us. But even if we're not on our best day, even if I didn't read everything, even if I didn't show up with all my questions written down, I am still deserving of exceptional care. I get to be treated like the multimillionaire, like a family member.
And I think the word that we're all looking for is like, you want respect. You want to make sure someone's there to make sure you're being respected. As a physician, you want to be respected, but as a patient, you also need to be respected. And if everyone understands that coming in, we're golden. You got no issues, right?
Period. We're going to pivot. The topic is changing, but I thank you both for being so open and so candid and just honestly so genuine in your responses. I would love for you guys to both let people know where they can follow you, where they can connect with you if they want to continue this conversation.
Yes, you can find Birth by Us on Instagram and LinkedIn at Birth by Us. You can also find us on our website at birthbyus.com, and we're now available in the Apple Store. So if you want to try our application out, just download us from the Apple Store, and we will be in the Android store soon.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm Dr. Charis Chambers. You can find me on Instagram at @PeriodDoctor. You can also find me on Twitter and on YouTube at @PeriodDoctor as well. And my website is theperiodoctor.com.
You can find me at BMH Equity and at Fund2 Foundation. Check out our NurtuHER Check-In, Check-Up series where we talk a little bit more about maternal health and the subjects we've been talking about today. See you there.
So thank you. Thank you both for joining me today. This has been lovely. Thank you to the Fund2 Foundation for creating this space. And take care.